I heard someone say the other day that life is short, and I'm 28 years old, so I'm about a quarter of the way through my life, and I feel like I've been on this earth for a really long time. Like, I literally don't remember a time where I wasn't alive. And all the memories that I have, I've been alive in all of them. And like, I've been alive before cell phones were a thing. Like, I was alive when we took quarters to school so I could call my mom on the payphone after basketball practice to come pick me up. I was alive when people wore jean jackets. And that feels like a really long time ago. And it feels like I've lived 4 or 5 different lifetimes since then. So when people say life is short, like, what the fuck do you actually mean? Because someone that says life is short is still playing the game of life because they're still alive to declare it, unless like you read in their journal, like from the grave, life is short. Um, but regardless, they were alive when they wrote it. So I have a lot of theories with this whole life game that we're playing. And like, first off, we the more we do, the more we're connected to our purpose, the more life becomes eternal. And I've done a lot of transformational work over the course of the past 3 or 4 years. And I, my dad's 72 years old, and I really wanted my dad to experience this training that I did in Los Angeles. And my dad was like, "It sounds great. I love what you're doing, and I really, hope you continue doing this. But I'm towards the end of my life. I don't see how this could benefit me as a 72-year-old." And I said, "Dad, do you trust me?" He said, "Of course I do." And I said, "If you trust me, you'll come out and do the training. What if, Dad? What if the last 8 years of your life felt like an eternity because you had a whole new perspective?" So when I look at life from the space of life is eternal, I'm immortal, then I will continue to get things done. I've gotten a lot done as a 28-year-old in my short time that I've had here on Earth so far. And I've done basically all of that with little to no resources. So, I graduated college pretty much with no money in the bank. Um, and they're like, "Hey, figure this out. You were given these little bits of knowledge throughout your college and high school experience. So now you have this whole life thing ahead of you and go figure it out." So I look at life almost like chapters, and the chapters of my life are like different lifetimes. And there's been people that have stayed in my life for a couple chapters. There are people that have been in my life for the entire time. There have been people that were in my life at the beginning of my game and just started to re-enter, which is kind of cool. So, something I really love about the transformational work that I do is it encourages me to reach out to people that have been parts of my life at some point in time. And I've said this for a really long time to people, that I'm a really hard person to get rid of. And I really mean that, because I believe that all we have is human connection, and all we have is just understanding one another. And I was on the phone with someone that I've been coaching, and he said, "Thank you so much for taking time out of your day um, for me." And every time someone says that, every time someone says thank you for taking time, to connect, I always say, I don't have anything better to do. I say it all the time. I don't have anything better to do. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't mean like I'm not a busy person. I don't mean that I'm not up to big things, but I literally don't have anything better to do than to connect with another person and support him or her in achieving his or her vision. So that's what I mean when I say I don't have anything better to do. Because my vision and my purpose is to create a world where everyone knows they matter, where every voice is heard, every face is seen, and everyone is living their passion, living their purpose every single day. So, going along, the best thing that I could possibly be doing with my life is evoking the greatness out of the people around me. So I have nothing better to do than to connect with human beings on a daily basis. And that's what I love to do. That's what I love, getting to know people. I love getting to know what people are up to. I love supporting them in breaking through the obstacles and the barriers that have held them back their entire lives. And so my invitation is to think of the one thing, like, what can you say to someone like, I don't have anything better to do? Like, what is, and then do that thing for a fucking living. Because, like, if we were all dropped on this earth tomorrow and we were just said like, hey, go figure it out, we wouldn't just be like, oh, let's go tax people, let's go figure out how to pay taxes so we can do all this stuff. Like that's not like the first thing that we would have done. Like, I feel like that stuff happens when people get greedy. When people get greedy and try to play this game of like, it's mine versus it's yours versus it's ours. And when, if we were all dropped on this earth tomorrow, people would just start doing the things they'd love to do. First off, we would obviously need to find food, find water, find supplies. But beyond that, like, what do we really have? We have expression, and this whole world is about expressing ourselves and expressing myself to be the best version of myself, to do the things every single day that I really desire to do, to be with the people that I want to be with, and to safely express my feelings to everyone and anyone, without fear of judgment. And somewhere along the lines, so going back to a Rocky Balboa quote. So Rocky Balboa, he's like, let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it'll beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life, but it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth, but you gotta be willing to take the hits and stop pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. So, what I take from Rocky Balboa there in that quote is, say it a little bit differently. So, I live life with two understandings. Number one, I'm always afraid of the thing that I want the most. And that's my purpose. So, whatever it is, whether it's a girl that I want to be in a relationship with, whether it's something that I want to do, um, my goals and my dreams are always going to scare me. And it reminds me of the children's book that I used to read called There's a Monster at the End of the Book. And the monster at the end of this book was a Sesame Street book narrated by Grover. And Grover, on the cover, it says there's a monster in the book, and Grover's all panicking. And you open the book, and he's like, oh no, did you read that? Like, there's a monster at the end of this book. Like, don't turn the page. And you turn a page, and he's like, no, I don't think you understand. There's a monster at the end of the book. Stop turning pages. You keep turning the page. And he's like, I don't think you understand. I'm going to start building up walls. He starts building up walls and barriers to stop you from getting to the end of the book. And you keep turning, you keep breaking down his walls, breaking down his barriers, and Grover keeps freaking out. You get to the last page, he's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Please do not turn the page. I'm begging you. Do not turn the page. There's a monster at the end of this book. Don't turn the page. And then you turn it, and it's just lovable little Grover. And Grover is the monster at the end of the book, just the lovable, cuddly little Grover. And what I interpret from that is, like I said, we're always, fear is false evidence appearing real. So the things that I'm afraid of are made up constructs in my mind that are preventing me from having the things that I really want to have. So when I live my life from the principle that I'm always afraid of the thing that I want the most, it supports me in overcoming that fear, just being like, this is actually really what I want. And there's a monster at the end of the book. And when I have a relationship with the monster at the end of the book, and I understand what's at the end is just a lovable, cuddly little Sesame Street doll that I, have wanted my entire life, then I'm not really afraid to go above and beyond the things that I want to do. The second principle that I live by is I live in this question. When something happens in my life, I ask myself, did a bad person do a bad thing to me, or did an amazing person teach me a valuable lesson on how I'm showing up in life? I believe that we attract in our lives exactly what we source and manifest. So instead of pointing my fingers and saying, this bad person did this bad thing to me, this bad experience happened to me, I say, wow, I can totally see how I attracted this event into my life. And thank you, because you taught me how I'm showing up and now I can make a change. And those are really like the two fundamental principles that I live by to live my purpose on a day-to-day basis. And when I'm living my purpose on a day-to-day basis, life is eternal. That's all I have for today. I appreciate you guys for listening. I love you all, and goodbye.